All right, let's learn about Daechwita.
Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about AGUST's Daechwita, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of both the lyrics and the visual masterpiece they passed as a music video. Daechwita is a song that, much like the mixtape as a whole, reflects on Yoongi, Suga and AGUST's current mindset and successes, as well as his artistic growth from 2016 to present day. The title of the song literally translates into great blowing and hitting, and it refers to a specific genre of traditional Korean military music which involves wind and percussion instruments. This musical genre is usually performed by the army while marching in parade for the king. So you know what you have to do the next time that you listen to this song. But in the instrumentals, these traditional sounds are mixed together with modern sounds that belong to both hip-hop and trap. And as it turns out, this fusion of tradition and modernity is also reflected in the music video, which shows us an epic confrontation between the ruthless King Min and the gang boss AGUST.
Yep.
At the beginning, the video opens with King Yoongi sitting on his phoenix throne and then proceeding to admire the decapitated bodies of his enemies laid out in the courtyard. Now, if you're a fan of K-dramas, you probably recognize the palace here, because the video was shot at Daechwita Park, a very popular filming location that was featured in a lot of historical dramas throughout the years. The styling for this setting was inspired by a mix of several Korean periods, but one of the major influences was definitely the Joseon dynasty, which, as we'll see in a second, is a major inspiration for the entire plot of the video. After being introduced to the king, the narrative then moves from the palace to the market, where we see a cameo of Jin and Jungkook picking a fight with each other, and we meet the character of the boss, which is the source of the king's future downfall and the leader of the coup that will take place later on. Right off the bat, the difference between these two characters is pretty evident. One is a king, the other a commoner. The first fights for himself, the second fights for the people. But what makes it even better is the way both the song and the video deal with the contrast between past and present. You see, in the lyrics, AGUST introduces himself as a king born as a slave. Now he wears a crown and flies on private jets, but this doesn't mean that he forgot where he came from, because as a matter of fact, he really didn't. He was born in a ditch but rose up to be a dragon, and he still remembers the days that led him to this point, which is the reason why he lives the way that he does and knows that he has quite a lot to lose. Now, judging by the lyrics alone, you would think that King Yoongi represents his present, while AGUST is a symbol of his past. But in the video, the king is associated with tradition, while the boss is driving a car in the middle of the palace. And this is important because, much like the scar on his face suggests, this contradiction implies that Yoongi is both of these people at the same time. On the one hand, he is a ruthless king to his enemies, who challenges the norm and is feared because of that. But on the other, is still the voice of the people, the boss of a movement that is meant to break tradition with a modern perspective that represents those that support him. In both the song and the music video, this duality is also conveyed with a lot of cultural and historical references.
I'm bearded
The line
Yoongi.
born as a slave but now a king, for instance, is a direct reference to the movie Masquerade, which is a period drama about King Gwanghae, who finds a double among the common people in order to protect himself from the constant threat of assassination. The events that we see in the video seem to be heavily inspired by the movie, but as it turns out, the references to this king go a lot deeper than that, because in the lyrics, AGUST compares his flow to the mad tiger Gwanghae. You see, Gwanghae was the 15th king of the Joseon dynasty, and even if modern scholars have been redeeming his name by praising his wisdom and strength, throughout history he was known to be a very violent and ruthless tyrant. Since he was the son of a concubine, Gwanghae was not the original successor to the throne, but because of his leadership skills and political abilities, he was appointed as crown prince and later on as the official successor instead of his older legitimate brother. Despite he defended his country even after the king ran away, his reputation during his rule was heavily affected by rumors that historians are now considering mostly false. And much like what we see in the video, his reign ended with a coup that happened overnight. Now, even judging by this little summary I just gave you, it's easy to see why Yoongi chose this character in the first place. Much like him, Gwangaegun was not meant to be king but became one because of his talents. His reputation was consistently tainted by his enemies, and even if he defended his country, he was considered a tyrant that didn't deserve recognition. In the video, AGUST D is now playing the tyrant that his haters make him out to be. They wanted a mad king and now they got it.
Not
and
yet.
he's not messing around
Very
this
soon.
time because he's coming straight for their heads. Even if they call him a pup, he's nothing like them, and he doesn't even need to flex to prove it because his enemy's pathetic behavior speaks for itself. This is because, much like he anticipated back in Give It To Me, he cannot live like a dog because he was born as a tiger. Now, the tiger is a very important symbol here because in Korean culture it is an animal that represents courage and pride while still conveying a sense of superiority that inspires fear and respect. The tiger is a noble animal that has nothing to share with the dogs that bark for attention. They're just below him, so without any hesitation he just kills them all. What's interesting here is that Yoongi is not saying that his success made him a tiger, but that he was born as a tiger, meaning that in comparison to his enemies, he is not superior because he's famous, he is superior because that's the way that it is. Now he may be king and he might be a
That level of
dragon, but he was
confidence.
always a tiger, so while he shoves his past in a rice chest, he knows that he's standing on what it is. Now, these lines here are very interesting because the rice chest is a reference to the story of Crown Prince Sado of the Joseon dynasty, who was executed by his own father and died of starvation inside of a rice chest.
I read this. This
According
was
to the story,
demented.
Sado was put to death because he tried to kill the son of an official. But since according to the law the body of a royal could not be defiled, the king had to get creative and find a way to kill his son while keeping his body intact. The solution that he found was to tie him with a rope and seal him inside of a rice chest for 7 days. And even if this sounds like a horrible act, this method of execution actually spared the life of the prince's family and saved his legacy. Now, the fact that Yoongi is a king and is choosing to seal his past in a rice chest implies that he's finding an alternative way to deal with the struggles that doesn't involve a complete erasure. He knows that the past made him the person he is today, and he knows that he needs to acknowledge that in order to maintain his roles. But he's choosing to deal with his struggles privately, saving what needs to be saved and killing what needs to be killed. To a certain extent, we can say that this idea is also loosely portrayed in the video itself, because much like Prince Sado, AGUST D is taken prisoner and tied with a rope. Now, AGUST D here is the boss of the story, the man of the people and the past that is reclaiming his place in the present. He's the one who was there since day one and the part of him that people can relate to the most, because all the clothes, the money and the goals the king has in the present are the result of the dreams that the boss had in the past.
Here we go.
It's
Call him
thanks to
back.
him and his 6 gang members that revenues go up and Bank PD dances in his studio. He is a genius that became a king because he realized that
Bank
time
PD.
is more valuable than money. But to his people, he's not a tyrant that lost touch with reality. He is a guide that can lead them to revolution. This idea is perfectly conveyed in the video because when AGUST D is about to be killed, the executioner himself is the one who sets him free. Now, this part is very interesting because
Remind
this
me to get
scene
a
was actually
framed
foreshadowed
photograph
since
of
the
Bang
very
PD.
beginning. If you look closely, the 2 executioners that we see in this scene right here are played by the same actors that play the butchers at the market. And this is not a coincidence because, as a matter of fact, they are the very same people. You see, these characters are a close reference to the Baekjang,
must be
who were
done.
the untouchables of Korean society and were forced to be butchers and executioners because they were activities that were deemed despicable by society as a whole. Now, the fact that AGUST D is being helped by one of the untouchables implies that his message is able to resonate
Kermit.
with people that come from all walks of life. No matter who you are or where you come from, no matter how much people hate you or disrespect you, AGUST D will be your voice and he will be your fighter. But once again, this reference goes even deeper than that, because if you look closely, Yoongi is wearing a necklace that looks exactly like the mask that is used to represent the Baekjang in theater. This implies that not only
This
he
is
lives
something
the
that I didn't
untouchables,
notice.
but that he identifies himself with them, meaning that even after all he has accomplished, he is still the untouchable of the system that he rules and that still wants to destroy him. If in Interlude Shadow he wanted to be king, and in Tony Montana he felt like Scarface, now he is the king and he is the boss. But people still come for his neck no matter what he does. This, however, does not change the fact that he is at the top. But this kind of power also implies a reality check, because by realizing that he cannot get any higher, Yoongi also accepts the fact that now it's time to look down and put his feet on the ground. Now, these lines here are very similar to the lyrics that we can find in Interlude Shadow, Black Swan, and on. And to a certain extent, this implies that the final confrontation between the king and the boss can be compared to the confrontation between the persona and the shadow. You see, for Yoongi not to become the tyrant that people make him out to be, he needs to stand his ground and look at himself in the face. Even if he's the king and he is the boss, he also understands that there is a limit to his greed, and in order not to overstep it, he has to kill the tyrant by wearing the mask of the untouchable. In a way, this is the part of him that the king might have hidden inside the rice chest. That side, that is, that represents the essence of his artistry and that is meant to give a voice to the voiceless. When you are at the top, it's easy to forget why you started in the first place, but Jung is not allowing himself to forget. So at the end of the video, AGUST shoots the tyrant by using an army revolver. This implies not only that you are the greatest weapon he has against his enemies, but also that you are the medium through which he keeps himself in check. You destroy his haters and you keep him grounded in reality. So next time you feel bad about yourself, stream D2 and give yourself a break. So that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did,
I don't know how, and not all musicians do this, but a lot of BTS does this. The level of how do they make a good song and then manage to incorporate all of these different aspects while still making a good song? Because, you know, you would think when you're trying to shovel all of the, not like shovel, but like when you're trying to incorporate the philosophical meanings, the historical meanings, you know, the duality, the king and then the boss, all these aspects, how are you going to incorporate all of those things and then still make a good song? If I were to make it, I would be like, okay, let's make a good song and then incorporate all of these things. And then by the time I'm done incorporating all these things, it's a disaster and the song isn't good anymore. It's like, how the hell do they do this? How? They're geniuses. There you go. They're geniuses.